dual downtowns were pulled out of Donruss football this year, and Panini potentially was using some AI art here. The end zones are here, and then the lines are going the opposite direction. Also, Atlanta plays in a dome. Is this something we should be expecting going forward with card companies, or is this just maybe an unfortunate mistake here for Panini?
Number one, we should be expecting all companies in this industry and every industry to be considering AI for certain kinds of tasks. But I have a question for you, Adam. Do you think Panini is frustrated or angry at you or happy with you for bringing this up? I think I can make a case they're happy you brought this up because it's brought attention to their product. It may be pointed out they have a little egg on their face because the end zone thing, but AI is not perfect. I don't know if they thought they could get away with it or they didn't double check it, but you're their double checker and you brought attention to their product. No publicity is bad publicity. You're talking about the product. You're now showing the product. And the primary aspect of any card product is not the background stuff. It's the players. It's who's pictured, and that's the primary artistic element. On the other hand, if they did something about Dallas and it had the wrong skyline, but still, I think they're not unhappy this is being discussed. It is the coming future. There's going to be more and more AI for card backs as well as card fronts.
Do you like that there is this chase card within a product like Donruss that should be, in my opinion, fairly easy to get, but now it's become a little bit harder to get? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Can't have it both ways, Adam. They are making them less desirable by this treatment. But if you ask a collector, do they want more inserts or more of these type of art cards that have interest, they're going to say, yes, they want more. If they do too many more, yes, it does drive down the value. If they put it in lower end products, again, all that affects things. But I still come back to the fact that if we're looking at this card right here, if a famous artist had done that background, and again, it does have a little bit of a stylistic AI feel to it, but even with the errors, if a famous artist did that, would it be more or less desirable? If it was a signed art piece and it was mainly Griffin and Daniels and mainly Jaden Daniels, the background is not photorealistic. It's not intended to be. But if a famous artist did an amazing rendition of that, it would still be incongruous to your sensibility of that doesn't make sense, that doesn't look right. But many artists are trying to provoke that kind of thought, to think about something in a fresh way. I think they're all trying to see how they can use AI to their own benefit, and they're finding out there are limits, and that's a good thing. And you're bringing attention to it, but I got to tell you, they're becoming some of the cheapest cards that Panini can produce in terms of production cost, other than some maybe special laminate, but basically this is an art card that's done by a machine in many cases. There's no relic, there's no autograph, and they can run different color backgrounds and serial numbering. All that is very cheap, and it drives interest in the product. But they should not mess up the franchise of Downtown by cheapening it with art that is substandard. That I agree.
Agreed. Yes, agreed.
Do you think it's time to potentially move on, or do you think they're going to run it forever?
Collectors are not clamoring. We want less great inserts. They want more.
Right.
So as long as it's got legs, I think they'll run it. The danger is they overproduce it, because then people will say these are not as collectible anymore. It'll damage the prior years too, in the perspective of the longtime collector. They should not mess with that. But you know that. They're capitalists. Look at the box and see what they're touting on the box. That's the stuff that they've done focus groups, or they've tested it. This is the sell copy on the hobby box that people say, hey, I want to buy this box, open it up because I want to get some of those. And it's not base cards. It's stuff like this.
I think Donruss is a pretty prestigious product within the hobby. I guess it's helping the value of that product in general. I also worry that people are not able to get Donruss. It feels like Donruss should be like Series 1, like one that's very available.
It's available at a higher cost.
Right.
Because they put more good stuff in the product. If they find out it doesn't sell, they'll maybe back off that a little bit. But I think it is selling.
I want people to be in the business of the hobby. Like, I want them to be able to make money, but I also want collectors to be able to get cards for the price that is reasonable and that should be not like double or triple what a box should cost. In 2019, I was going to a hobby shop to buy a blaster of 2019 Prism basketball, which had Zion and Ja. In my head, I was like, I spent $35 on that blaster. Looking back, wow, maybe I should have just not opened that blaster and kept it closed. But now you look at that one, it's $200 for one of those blasters from 2019, which probably has changed a little bit just because of, unfortunately, Zion not exactly panning out. Potentially down the road, maybe they don't do any more AI art and this becomes like a niche insert within the hobby that people look at and say it was the only time or it was the first time that Panini used AI.
Come on, be realistic. They're not going to move away from AI. AI is getting better, not every year, every 3 months it's getting better.
Right.
On the verbiage side, as well as the conceptual side, the artistic side. AI is here to stay. The crime is they didn't double check it. And maybe that was even intentional. But it's going to get better and better. It's here to stay. Upper Deck's going to do it. Leaf is going to do it. Topps and Fanatics are going to do it. So it's here to stay, but it'll get better and better. And there may come a time where we can't tell the difference.
Yeah, when I see videos and stuff of people using AI, I'm like, are people not terrified of that? Are people not watching these videos of people doing face swap on music videos? That is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Consumers can only withhold their dollars so much. We're in a weird place right now where we're finding out how is this going to work within our community and how we consume and how we interact.
There's never been a successful boycott within this industry in 100 years. Of, I don't like this product. Don't anybody buy it. That has never worked.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I suppose, depending on if you're a collector or if you're somebody who is making the cards.
The closest thing to a boycott is 2003 Exquisite basketball. When people said, this is outrageous, I'm not paying it. And it's gone on to be the most successful product perhaps in history.
Exactly.
But that's like what a boycott is. It's counter-instinctual in this industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it with the Exquisite because it's probably the most desirable product of all time right now. I mean,
except when it came out.
Exactly. It turned into that.
It was a cash grab and look at it now.
Shout out to Carvin, who is one of the creators of that product. He really was sticking his neck out there to create something that only really he saw was going to be so desirable, and maybe he got lucky. Maybe,
he didn't get lucky. He's good, and he's bold.
Yeah.
And the powers that be at Upper Deck said, we believe in you, Carvin. And they created a whole super premium franchise. But AI, Adam, you're using it instead of it using you. And I think it's an it. It's not a sentient being. And so you have overruled. You have to know what you want to say, and then you're able to review it and say, yes, this is an accurate summary and proofreading of what I really want to say. But so you have to know more about you than they know about you. They can know about some background stuff, but your defense is your own knowledge and your own understanding. Otherwise, they're taken over.
One of my favorite products, Topps Series 1 Baseball, is going to be released. And there is a great Twitter account, Topps BB. Essentially, they have an algorithm. They put all of the odds information into some sort of database, and it spits out how many cards there are for each player. We've seen a little bit of an increase from 24 to 25.
I had lunch over at Fanatics and got a little tour. If you tell me there's 1 million base cards of Topps Series 1, I think I saw 1 million of them on the floor there because it's floor to ceiling. It's like an Indiana Jones warehouse, Raiders of the Lost Ark, as far as the eye can see, stacked up to the high ceiling Topps Series 1 and other stuff too. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It should be shocking as if you look back 10 years, but it's not shocking when you look at the last 3 or 4 years. Production numbers don't scare me. Because Topps especially is trying to print to demand. This is just Topps Series 1. And over the last few years, maybe for more than the last few years, Topps has been careful to sometimes hold back a rookie that ought to be in Series 1 and they're holding back. I think that also affects these print quantities because they don't hit Series 1 with everything they got.
True.
And they hold some things back, I think, improperly. I want to see the players when I want to see the players. So when it goes down 1 year, it may be because Series 2 was bigger than Series 1.
I'd like to see the numbers side by side.
Your thoughts on the difference between Topps putting out their odds and like how Panini basically doesn't put out their odds?
Back in the day, when we were doing price guides, we did this. That was part of our case analysis and our product analysis. Now, again, we're looking at empirical, what are the cards selling for? But to understand rationally why something would sell for more, you need to have some concept of how scarce it is and that it's not capricious. But we got these kinds of numbers. And even with Panini, you can do some estimates. It's not like you're totally in the dark. But Topps makes it easy with knocking down the pack odds. And so if you know that one is out of 9,000 packs and there's so many of them, then you've got to multiply by 9,000 times that. They don't make it easy, but it's doable.
I'm not upset that Panini doesn't necessarily share those numbers.
You can be all the upset you want to be, any of us. They have determined that it's in their best interest. And that is because of basketball. Because basketball has been so outrageously hot over the last 7 or 8 years. Their Prism, how awesome it is to have a flagship that is a premium product like Prism, which is what they've done.
True.
If you look at the proliferation of parallels, there are so many nice looking, non-serial numbered parallels. That's why Panini doesn't want to tell you the odds on all those, because some of them are tough and some of them are easy. So they have deemed it not in their best interest. And when I put on my rational hat, I think, you know what? They're printing an awful lot of that. I don't know that it's up in these kind of numbers of 1 million per player, but it's a lot more than people think. It might even damage consumer confidence. Topps Series 1, I think this includes all the configurations of the product. There's blasters, megas, hobby, retail, and the pack odds are according to that pack. Because they have the same number of the gold parallel in each one of these. It just goes up by 1 each year. And so you can figure that out. But the way it's packed out, because otherwise 2024 would be a bargain to go into that year because there's less base cards and there's just as many cards, good stuff in there. All of these Fanatics, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, they have to do on average at least as well as what they're advertising. If they say it's 1 per pack, it needs to be at least 1 per pack on average. So when the number goes down, maybe you got a better shot at getting good stuff. Panini has dealt with that by having first off the line boxes, and those are loaded. And Topps has some preferred breaker special boxes.
Yeah, it's called Breaker's Delight.
I mean, why would Panini want Donruss to be compared to Topps Series 1, which is so institutionalized? They need to be better than Topps Series 1 to justify purchase. Because everybody thinks immediately of Topps Series 1. So Donruss to be the same as Topps Series 1, they're going to lose in the consumer's mind. And so they care about their top line, they care about their bottom line. They've determined that if they put some better stuff in Donruss, maybe raise the price a little bit, it's going to be a winning strategy for them. But trying to be the same as Topps Series 1 is a losing strategy.
What Panini's trying to do, they're trying to not have maybe necessarily a flagship product.
No. They'd love to have flagship product, but their products have become boutique products. Okay, Topps Series 1 is what all of my friends that no longer collect or used to collect. Everybody knows Topps. Some of them know Upper Deck, some have Fleer, Donruss, all these others. But everybody knows, and there are so many people that every year are going to either pick up a box or a factory set or something of the Topps. So that is the standard. We talk about Fanatics being monopolistic. They bought a company that's going to allow them to be monopolistic because there's going to be a flagship Topps football and a flagship Topps basketball. And all the other sets are going to be compared to that. And they probably, other than Big League or others, kid-oriented, everything else is going to have to move up market. And that's what they're doing. So they're not unintelligent. They're doing the right thing. So Donruss doesn't want to be an afterthought. They want to have their own brand identity. And if their brand identity, hey, we're just like Topps Series 1, that's not convincing to the public.
Do you have any background knowledge on how Topps decides what product a player is going to be? Because baseball is very different.
Historically, Topps had a huge advantage because they had individual contracts. And so they could do whatever they wanted to. And then in 05, 06, when the rules were tightened for all the companies, but especially Topps, with putting the RC logo on the card, that was the level of playing field. So now there's more strict rules that you can't put in guys early, but I guess you can put them in late.
Right.
So if you have the license, by holding it back, you're going to supercharge the extended series or series 2. Otherwise, you've used up all your goodies in series 1.
Right.
They can't put in guys early, but they can hold them back, if that makes business sense.
It's like with Ellie De La Cruz, for example. He made his debut in 2023, didn't have a rookie card until 2024.
The immediate fix for this is having 2 baseball licenses. Topps would not be holding off if they had a competitor.
Right. Okay.
That's why in 0506, why that was done, because they were each trying to jump each other. Now Topps can hold back and wait. If there was a competitor out there, they would not be holding Ellie De La Cruz.
Right.
They would have got him in there
guess,
immediately. Now what they can do, which is their new cash cow, is Topps Now.